Most haunted house stories start with a family moving in. This one starts with a guy who never really moved on with his own life. In tonight's video, we're presenting an original horror story called A Ghost Story. It centers on Flynt, a solitary man whose world is basically work, TV, and not much else, until he becomes convinced his house is haunted. Not with rattling chains and Latin chanting, but with little infuriating things. Strangers on his couch, kids appearing out of nowhere, people walking straight through him, and his stuff never staying where he left it. The result isn't a grand exorcism. It's one burned-out man trying to hold on to his routine while the world inside his walls keeps getting stranger, messier, and a little less under his control every night. Turn the lights down. Imagine coming home to find someone or something already using your remote and ask yourself, if your house was haunted, how long would it take you to realize who really doesn't belong there? This is a ghost story.
Hi, my name's Flynt, and my house is haunted. I know I sound like one of those sad sacks at those meetings, and I know there's no such thing as ghosts, but I've seen things that would make your hair turn white. I've never told anybody about this before, mainly because I don't got anyone to tell. I live a solitary life, if you can even call it a life. I don't get out much, just home and work. Anyway, I sit in front of a computer all day and in front of my TV at night. Same crap every day. I'm so entrenched in my goddamn routine, I don't think even dying could interrupt it. So, I don't got no friends to tell. Plus, I'm not one who feels the need to cry about their feelings like I'm one of those pansies on one of those reality shows, but I feel like I need to tell somebody before I go nuts. A guy could go crazy living in my place. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm completely stable. I don't have dogs telling me to kill anyone or anything like that. I'm just afraid of what might happen if I don't tell somebody about the weird things in my house. I don't know. Maybe I should just move. It all started one night after I got home from work. Up until then, it was a completely normal day. Nothing much to mention. Not that there's ever anything to mention about work. It's like I'm the invisible man there. I like it that way. If you stay under the radar, people won't be bugging you to do things. I don't really talk to my coworkers, and they don't really talk to me. I just sit in my cubicle and stare at my screen. Anyway, I got home right after sunset, like I do every day. I can't remember the last time I saw the sun through my own windows. I'm up before dawn, dragging myself into work like the Walking Dead, and home after sunset just as dead on my feet. Work, work, work. It's really killing me. But I guess a guy's gotta make a living, or die trying. No sooner than I walked through the door, I noticed everything seemed different. I was almost tempted to walk back outside and make sure I entered the right house. Everything seemed a little off whack. The furniture, for example, wasn't where I remembered it was when I left. It even looked different, almost like I didn't recognize it. At first, I just shrugged it off. Everyone feels that way sometime, don't they? You look at something at a different angle or under the wrong light, and something as familiar as your own face looks strange, right? Anyways, I went to the fridge to grab a beer and then watch the news and then some Monday Night Football. But when I opened the fridge, there wasn't any beer. I could have sworn I had at least a six-pack in there, but like old Mother Hubbard, my cupboard was bare. So I grabbed a Coke instead and went into the living room for some nightly entertainment. This was when it really got weird. Up until this point, I could have chalked everything up to old age, failing eyesight, feeble mind, and all that good stuff, but there was no real explanation for what happened next. I walked into the living room, and the television was already on. I know I didn't turn it on myself without realizing it. I'm not that old. Anyway, I turned it to 6 to catch the news and sat down in my easy chair, but as soon as a cheek hit the cushion, the TV switched back to channel 11. I got up, switched it back 6, and then it popped back to 11 by itself. I was getting angry because I just bought the goddamn thing and now it was screwed. With authority, I switched it back to 6 when I heard a "what the hell" from behind me. I turned around, and there was some dude lying on my couch, beating my remote control on his thigh. I jumped back so quick I just about knocked the TV off the stand too. Thinking he was some vagrant off the street, I screamed at him, "What the hell are you doing in my house?" He just sat up and looked at me with this weird-ass look like he couldn't figure out why I was standing in my own living room shouting at him. Then he did the strangest thing. He lifted the remote, pointed it at me, flipped the channel back to 11, and laid back down. I couldn't believe the nerve of the guy. First he broke into my house, drank all my beer, and then acted like he was the king of the remote control. Little did I know then, he was a ghost. I lost it over his total lack of respect. I grabbed a vase off of an end table, smashed it on the floor, and yelled, "Get the hell out before I call the cops." That must have put the fear of God in him, because he got up and bolted out the door quicker than 2 jiggles of a jackrabbit's ass. After he left, I sat down and watched my news. Now that I look back on it, I can't figure out for the life of me why he'd be so afraid of the police. They can't arrest ghosts. I didn't figure it out until later that night. My house was officially haunted. I had fallen asleep in front of the TV before the game was over, irking me just as much as the intruder reigning over my remote. It was a great game, what I saw of it, and I was dying to know who won. I must have had a trying day at work to have been that tired. That place really drains life right out of me. Dead on my feet every night after work with not much to show for it on payday. I think I need a new job. Anyway, I must have fell asleep on the remote, because instead of cheesy late-night infomercials like there should have been, there was Casper, the friendly ghost, flying across my screen. I turned it to ESPN and watched it for nearly 2 hours without seeing a sports center or even one of those reports at the bottom of the screen. They were replaying a documentary about the 1969 World Series, like anybody cares. Frustrated, I flipped off the tube and headed off to bed. I was about to hit the light switch and call it a night when, once again, I saw a stirring on my couch. This time, it wasn't a remote hogging bum, but a sleeping little girl. She had long blonde hair, a face like a Cupid doll, and a pair of little blue pajamas with feet in them. I've heard of people leaving children in a basket on your doorstep before, but leaving them on your couch while you were sleeping was a bit ridiculous. She must have felt me staring at her, 'cause she sat up and rubbed her tiny little eyes. Still half asleep, she walked to the doorway where I was standing and stopped. I knelt down so I was at her eye level. "Where did you come from, Pumpkin?" I thought she was still sleeping, because she totally ignored me and started walking again. Now, this next part is the spookiest thing that ever happened to me before or after. Instead of knocking foreheads, she passed right through me. It felt warm like a gust of air from a heating vent on a cold day, and almost as warm as the stream that was running down my leg. I was frozen where I knelt, and then I felt a shock. 35 goddamn years and they let him go. Screw them. No seniority, no nothing. Not one of those 35 years meant anything when it came right down to it. They let him go so they can save a few bucks and hire some college pissant. What am I thinking? I wasn't laid off. God damn it. There was no way he wanted to go back on the job market. He would almost rather kill himself than write a new resume. Then there I was, with urine running down my leg, and I couldn't even turn around to see where she went. It took a little while for my heart to start beating once again. I made it to the couch where the ghost girl had been and plopped down. I felt like I was stoned. I had no idea what to do. Call the priest? Say a couple of Hail Marys and Our Fathers, wipe up the stain on my carpet. I probably would have given my life for the Ghostbusters phone number right about then. My legs didn't have enough power to stand up again, let alone walk upstairs to bed, so I fell asleep right where I was, with the lights on. From that day on, weird crap was a nightly occurrence at my house. I'd get home from work and step right into the Twilight Zone. Honestly, I was waiting for Rod Sterling to meet me at the door one night. I still am. And if he ever shows up, I'm gonna kick his ass. This kind of stuff is cool to watch on TV, but not when it happens in your own house. One night, after I got home dead-ass tired as usual, I went directly upstairs to get a shower and try to put a little life back into my step. After a nice healthy dump, I stood in front of the mirror getting ready to shave. I looked like death. I really needed a new job. Mine was putting me in an early grave. As I was lathering up, the door opened behind me and in stepped a woman in her bathrobe. I spun around, still looking like Kenny Rogers with my shaving cream beard. I pressed up against the sink as far as I could without actually standing in the thing. After my experience with the ghost girl, the last thing I wanted to do was touch another one of them. She didn't even see me standing there, 'cause she just dropped her robe and turned on the shower. I'll have to say one thing about her. She had a nice rack for a dead girl, but a good set or not, I wasn't sticking around while a ghost took a shower, so I took my shaving to the kitchen. I found something out that night. Ghosts must be able to feel hot and cold, 'cause I could hear that broad screaming when I turned the hot water on downstairs. It's not only the fact that they walk around like they own the place that really irritates me. It's a bunch of little things. For one, they're always moving things, like the remote control, my car keys, and my wallet. I like to keep things where I can find them. My wallet, for example, I like to keep on my dresser, but they keep moving it to the nightstand. The remote control I like to keep next to my easy chair, but they would always move it next to the couch. Those damn ghosts were really getting on my nerves until I realized that I have to start hiding things so they won't be able to find them and keep moving them around. Another thing that pisses me off is that they're so damn messy. I'm constantly cleaning up after them. One time, after work, I got home to find a whole bunch of tax forms and receipts scattered all over the dining room table. Most of them were already filled out. The names on them were Rob and Tammy Gaines. God knows where they got them from or how they got them into the house. I don't know whether they're trying to be funny or just piss me off, but it really annoys the hell out of me. I had to pick up all those papers and take them down to the furnace when I should have been watching the news enjoying a cold one. To hell with Rob and Tammy Gaines. Gaines. Where do I know that name from? Some lady, she called them that. She said,
Mr. and Mrs. Gaines, you and your family will love this house.
The young couple looked around and imagined their family photos on the walls and their son's toys on the floor of the empty house. The hell they will. This is my house. Why is this lady trying to sell my house? And where is all my stuff? Rob didn't even have to ask his wife. He could tell just by looking at her.
We'll take it,
he said, and he feel his little wife shudder when he put his arm around her.
Great, Mr. Gaines. I'll get right on it. Now, just for full disclosure and all, it's not a big deal, but, the previous owner.
I sort of remember something like that, but why would some lady be selling my house? I don't know, but I do know I heard that name before. At one point, I thought they were starting to feel sorry for me and be friends. I got home one night, and the table was spread out with a feast like you wouldn't believe. Turkey, dressing, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, and corn. If I was on death row, I'd probably request the same thing with maybe a couple cold ones on the side. They must have thought I was having a couple of friends over or something, 'cause there were 6 place settings. I only used one of them, but I ate half the food myself. It was good too. I felt like I hadn't eaten in ages. After the hearty meal, I was feeling pretty good about my ghostly roommates until I realized they had tried to poison me. I let out a belch, farted, and then my stomach began to gurgle. I felt like the dead. The pain was comparable to giving birth, I imagine. I spent the rest of the night in my easy chair, moaning like a banshee because it hurt so badly. They had gone too far that time. They could have killed me. The next day, I was gonna do something about them. I got home the next night, determined that it was going to be either me or them. I wasn't gonna put up with it any longer, but they must have had the same idea, 'cause when I walked through the door, I found all my stuff packed into boxes like they expected me to move. Conceited bastards they were kicking me out of my own house. Worst of all, they were going to ship all my belongings to those people they stole the tax forms from. Each box was marked clearly, shipped to Rob and Tammy Gaines. They weren't getting off that easy. I am the king of this castle, not a bunch of worm-ridden corpses. I ripped open the closest box and started unpacking my stuff, making sure I put everything exactly where I wanted it. They tried to kick me out 3 more times, but each time I got home and unpacked my things all over again. After the 4th time, I guess they got the hint, 'cause they didn't try it again and left my belongings behind. Well, that's my story. I wish I could give you some epiphany, but I didn't see no white light. I didn't learn any deep truth. I'm still here, but so are they. Not the same ones, though. It's never the same ones for long. I guess this place must be a rest stop on the way to the afterlife or something. They keep coming or going. None of them stay long, but they stay long enough to make my life hell. I'm at the end of my rope. Maybe I should move, but who am I kidding? I can't move on. I'm too much of a creature of habit for that.
That was a ghost story. On the surface, it's about a man and his ghosts. The couch surfers, the little girl in pajamas, the woman in the shower, the paperwork that isn't his, the dinner that shouldn't be there. Underneath, it's about something quieter. Habit, denial, and how far someone will go to cling to the idea that nothing important has really changed. No Latin rituals, no holy water. Just a house, a life, and a question that gets harder to ignore the longer you stay. Whose home is this, really? If you enjoyed this presentation and want more original horror stories, you can subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what you think is really going on inside that house. Thanks for watching. And if you get home tonight and anything in your place looks subtly rearranged, you can blame the ghosts if you want. They might be doing the same.